Love and light to all our listeners. Stella here with episode 4 of the Llamaste podcast brought to you by Pistachio Llama. Today's episode is quite jam-packed. We've got one very insightful, it's quite long, but it's a very insightful interview coming up with Linda. So Linda and her 4 quite fluffy boys have been ambassadors of Pistachio Llama for some time now, so they are loyal customers. And Linda is one of those women that pretty much does not stop. Also, she's going to have a very exciting announcement for you during the interview, so make sure you listen out for her announcement. But before we get stuck into all of that, I actually wanted to open this episode with something which it's my own quote, and I thought about it the day or the morning after I redyed my hair. And the quote goes, "The only risks you're going to regret are the ones not taken." And this resonates with me so much because I am an entrepreneur. I have several businesses, and the only thing I do regret about these businesses is not starting them earlier. Also, because I thought about this the morning after I dyed my hair, I was like, just before I dyed my hair, I had all of my props ready, had it all out. I had a shower. I didn't condition my hair because the hair dye. I didn't condition my hair because the hair dye is like one of those conditioning hair dyes because I'm actually highly allergic to PPD, which is a chemical in like most commercial hair dyes. So I can't use your stereotypical commercial hair dyes. So I had all my props ready. I didn't condition my hair, as I said, and then just as I got out of the shower and I was about to do it, I was kind of like freaking out about it. And I'm like, what if this goes wrong? Like, oh no, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not going to worry about it. But I was looking at myself in the mirror going like, I don't like this hair color anymore because this hair color is one of those that doesn't really stick to your hair. So after a few washes, you need to redo it again. And so I was standing there going like, I'm not going to do it. And then I thought to myself, like, what am I on about? Like, I need to do my hair. Like, I don't like the way this looks anymore. Like, why am I scared? Like, if this goes wrong, then I actually have another color already. Lined up, which I'm going to throw into my hair after this one washes out. So I'm like, what am I afraid of? And you know, I was so happy when I got out of the shower, when I did my hair, I got out of the shower. It was all dried, looking nice and fresh. I was so glad that I did it. I took the risk and I did it. And it didn't turn out bad at all. So I thought about this sentence the morning after. And I thought about my life and just how kind of hesitant I've been throughout my life, which is something I'm trying to work on, hesitating less and just going with my guts. And perhaps if you are in the same boat, then I want you to know that it is okay to take risks because you're only going to learn from taking risks. You're not going to learn by not taking risks. Speaking of taking risks, I'll now play you the super insightful interview I had with Linda earlier on this week. Hi, Linda. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your super busy schedule and joining us on the show today. How are you?
Hey, Stella. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm pretty good. Enjoying some days off this week and then working again over the weekend.
Yeah, gosh, I honestly don't know how you do it. You have so much on, it's super inspiring. And now one of your jobs is working at a shelter. What could you tell the listeners what led you to a career working in a shelter, and was it something that you stumbled across by accident, or was working at the shelter something that you specifically like yearned to do? And if so, was there something in particular that drew you to the work?
So for me, it was always that I was an animal person since I grew up because I grew up in Switzerland around farm animals, around cats and dogs, and like they were always a part of my life. So it was pretty clear for when I was little that I will sooner or later I will work with animals.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even care how. I just wanted to work with animals.
Yeah.
And I finally got that chance when I moved to Australia, first with volunteering, and then I actually found a job thanks to good recommendations from the volunteering work.
Wow.
That I was able to actually jump into first large pound, and then I had the chance last year to start at Second Chance Animal Rescue in Craigieburn, which was really, really, really amazing, and I absolutely loved the work.
Yeah, yeah, they're a very big shelter and they do some amazing work over there.
Funny enough, yeah, Epping Pound is massive, and compared to Second Chance, it's very little. Most animals there are in foster care because we do not have the space there for all the animals we do actually have in our care.
Yeah, yeah. And since you now have quite substantial experience and you've handled many a dog and cat, I'm assuming, is there a is there a breed in particular that you're drawn to, and if so, why?
So for me, it's working dogs, like all the German Shepherds, all the Shepherds, Huskies, Kelpies, and Heelers, because I'm kind of drawn to them because they actually give you a challenge because they have such specific needs due to their high intelligence and their high activity levels that it really shows you when an animal is stressed, when a dog is stressed, how to actually decompress them. And to be fair, the bigger the challenge, the more you learn for the calm animals and the anxious animals. So I really, really love them because as soon as they open up to you and you're able to just check out what they actually want from you, what they need, and how to handle them, they're absolutely amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of challenges, what would you say to someone looking to adopt either a dog or a cat from a shelter? Are there any specific questions they should ask the handlers?
Oh, absolutely. So one of the first things to do before even talking to the shelter themselves, it's really important to read the adoption profile to see if that animal is a good fit for your home, to see if the animal would need any more space, like a large breed dog or a cat, if she likes a busier household, or if it likes a more quiet household, like if it's more a senior cat, or if it's a cat that would be great also with children, because well, we know not every cat likes children. Same with dogs.
Yeah.
And then when talking to the shelter staff, it's really important to check out, is the animal kid friendly? Is it animal friendly? Because, well, if you have kids, it's not good to have an anxious dog that that shuts down when he gets into a busy home, or if it's a cat that isn't really like up for children and just rather chills and has pets and suns in on the window bank. Those are really important things. Then ask about medical waivers, because some animals, they of course they're like humans. They come with the little quirks, with the little handicaps like hip dysplasia, elbow issues, or even FIV in cats. And those cats and dogs, they all need very specific needs.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's always good to be aware beforehand, because that also can play in down the road in management with that animal, also with where you can go, how high the activity level will be with this animal, if there is more training required for a dog, as example, especially when you get puppies. Getting informed how the different stages of puppies are, like from the small ones to teenage dirtbag phase, which is always a pleasure to go through.
Oh gosh.
Yes, and also, of course, that could emerge down the road. It's always good to know those things beforehand to make such an important decision if this is the right animal to welcome to your home. And then, of course, make a meet and greet with that animal. It's usually on shelter side, because then you can see if your own dog, when you already have one, will get along with them, if you also have the chemistry with this animal, because again, it's just like with us people, not everyone clicks with everyone.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Now, speaking of some health problems that these dogs and cats might have, hip dysplasia, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
and the question that no one wants to ask, are all the dogs and cats at the shelter sick, or do they all have behavioral problems? Are they pretty much like the misfits of the pet society?
Absolutely not. So while I can say, of course, there is animals that have a bit more problems than others, of course, but the reason why animals get into a shelter or into a pound, that also can be due to hardship of the owners, like financial hardship, health hardship, like they just aren't able to look anymore after this animal.
Yeah.
And the animal can be perfectly socialized, no health issues, nothing, but the owners sadly are just not able to give that animal anymore what it needs. It even can be moving into interstate, especially also these days with the housing crisis that is going on, sadly, globally.
Yeah.
It's sometimes impossible because there is still, even in Victoria, it is outlawed to deny an applicant for pets. It's still, if it's not like black and white stated that you're denied because of the animal, there is grey zones where people just can like, no, I don't want anyone with a cat or a dog in my premises. Unfortunately, those are all reasons why animals are getting surrendered. Sometimes it's also like, oh, I completely overestimated the work an animal can make, like the time you need to invest, the vet bills you need to invest, the food you need to invest, the time and the training with dogs, or like also the walks, because some dogs are happy to have like 2 or 3 half-an-hour walkies outside or running around in the yard. Others need like 2 hours of exercise every day with sniffing training, with agility training, like just different things. And so I wouldn't say that all cats and dogs are misfits or having behavioral issues or health issues, because there's so many different reasons why animals get into care of rescues and pounds.
Yeah, yeah. And the economic crisis, really, we have been hearing it everywhere. And the economy is slowing. People are cutting back on all the things that were once really considered normal. And truth be told, are a part of a healthy society. But we are forced currently to really reconsider where and what we are spending money on. And has this impacted the shelter in any way?
Absolutely, especially you saw it after COVID. The economy actually made a little jump forward and then it got drawn back again. But then you also have the issues with the lockdowns we had here in Australia, especially Melbourne.
Yeah.
A lot of people adopted animals and now back into the office. It's like, I don't have time anymore for this animal. And or during COVID, they were able to get a remote job and were able to work from home, and then all of a sudden the services aren't needed anymore, so they can't afford to look after this animal anymore, don't have the time to look after this animal anymore. Because a thing we've seen is we still are getting COVID puppies surrendered.
Right.
That is definitely an issue. And also the other thing is separation anxiety seems to have to take a real massive jump in animals. Cats a little bit less, but still present, but dogs are quite an example for that, because they're used to, they got as a puppy to the new owner during lockdowns, during COVID, and now their owners do have to go back to work, to the office, to the working place, and those dogs are not used to be alone. And for some people, it's quite a challenge to tackle this, because it is a very long process to get an animal, especially when it's already through all the development stages, to actually tackle separation anxiety without them being whiny, getting anxious, or sometimes even just rip your whole apartment apart or your house apart. It can happen. It always depends on what breed of dog or the personality of the dog, like how they deal with it. Because what we learn over the years, and it's still a big topic research is on, is about mental health for animals,
Mm.
because we're getting to a point where we actually realize animals are really sentient. They can have very similar mental health issues to us humans, with depression, with anxiety, with just any kind of emotional hardship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really, really a thing that we saw spiking here with the economy and how people treat animals. Or sometimes people make the decision, well, we either have children or we have an animal. So it's decisions like that people are unfortunately these days forced to make at times. And also the other thing is, what I would recommend, instead of looking on Gumtree, on Facebook Marketplace for cute puppies that are up for sale with a really high chance that they were an accidental, or even worse, coming from puppy farms, I would look first on, as an example, on petrescue.com, where all the shelters and rescues advertise the animals that are looking for a home, because there you also have the higher chances to find an animal that suits your lifestyle. As an example, there is puppies when you want the big responsibility of a puppy and go through all the stages with them. Or you can find a senior dog which is already established, which is chill and just waiting to be picked up, instead of, like, let's say, a high maintenance pedigree dog, because there's just so many differences. I recommend to check first in rescues, because also with an animal that is a little bit older, it makes sense, because you can see, hey, is actually dog ownership something for me? Can I take this responsibility? And with that, you can actually make sure that this animal finds a really nice home for the rest of their life, which might be another year, it might be another 10 years, because with pedigree dogs, good kennels only offer puppies when they actually have enough interests.
Right.
And people who constantly offer puppies, it's a good hint it's a puppy mill, and this is something we don't want to support, because it causes also us rescues, our pounds, to just burst out, because we get those puppies surrendered by the end of the day, because they either too much, because the parents are not characteristically tested, and it's just, I don't want to really say problem animals, but they can turn out to be a handful when they come from puppy mills, because there's health issues that are already genetically, because there is no real regulation over them.
Yeah.
And if you adopt from a shelter or from a pound, well, I would actually recommend looking into rescues or your council shelter, because there is animals or you have more of a guarantee. It's like, yeah, that will be a nice animal, because we do all the character tests to be able to say, okay, we can adopt this animal safely out again into society without being a menace, without causing any issues.
Yeah.
And from puppy mill, you really do not have that guarantee.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a really sad truth.
Yeah, it's pretty sad that puppy mills are still around. The government has put in all these regulations and legislation to try stop puppy mills, but it's only kind of brought them even more underground, and they're still around. There's nothing you can do to really stop them. And even in regards to adopting an adult dog, like going through what I had gone through with my rescue pup, it was tough. Like, it's not easy even adopting a puppy or having a puppy around, especially if you have a full-time job.
Absolutely.
So I would definitely consider adopting a more senior dog second time around.
Absolutely.
Now, you are a woman of many skills, and not only do you spend your time at the shelter, but when you are not working at the shelter, you are working at a dingo reserve. Why?
So it would be actually the Australian Dingo Foundation or Dingo Research up in Tulin Vale, which is an absolute amazing view of the whole Port Phillip Bay. It is absolutely amazing.
Wow.
The reason was I came to Australia in 2019, so basically just before COVID hit.
Oh my gosh.
So I moved here, and I was like basically trapped in our house. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, great. I can't socialize. I can't
Oh.
find anything.
Oh no, that must have been
How
so
about
hard.
how about volunteering? It's like, let's go, let's do something. And I knew volunteer work with animals is an exception that you're actually able to leave your house because
Mm-hmm.
animals need to be cleaned, need to be fed, need to be exercised.
Mm-hmm.
And I always also wanted to work I always wanted to work with wildlife and especially wild canines. In Switzerland, the wild canines we have are foxes, well, the very occasional wolves sometimes in the Alps, and that's pretty much it. And here in Australia, we're like, there's dingoes. I want to work with dingoes because I thought like in my head from documentaries I watched earlier on, I was like, oh, there's something like a coyote about that size and about that temper. I never really saw them as domestic dogs or feral dogs. Like, unfortunately, they love to be cold sometimes here in Australia.
Mm.
It's really, really, really amazing since I'm up there to learn the differences from a dog that is actually intended by nature, to see the differences what we did with domestic breeding of our dogs. Like, those differences are absolutely amazing and mind-boggling.
Yeah, yeah. And what would you say that the biggest difference between a dingo and a dog is?
So the biggest difference is actually very subtle in that sense, because you look at them, you see something like Kelpie Shiba Inu looking, and then you meet them and you learn more about them, and then you see actually there's quite a lot of difference. First of all, the biggest one is behavior. They're acting like cats. It's basically
Oh, really?
cat. Yeah, the cat in a dog suit. It's absolutely hilarious. They're independent.
Hmm.
Training, yeah, well, you're lucky when you get them to sit.
Oh,
It's pretty much
wow.
that. It's pretty much that. Of course, it depends on the dingo themselves. Like, if the dingo is like, yeah, cool, I love working. I do a little bit more for you, human. But otherwise, it's like, yeah, cool, I sit, give me the treat now, and then they're off again.
Oh,
And
gosh.
then, yes. And then you have also difference in the vocalization, like dingoes. There is a bit of a rumor around dingoes do not bark, which is
Hmm.
not true. The difference is just to a domestic dog and a dingo. Give me one sec, my dogs just came in. Oh, boys. Yeah, they were outside in the yard with my husband, and now they wanted to come back in, and now I'm surrounded by them.
Oh, fun.
So you don't want a dingo to bark at you because their bark is more. It sounds like a growl bark, like a screaming, and it
Oh,
is a warning. It's literally like back off of me. It's
right.
very similar to a dog growling at you,
That's
and
interesting.
a lot of howling. It's
Okay.
amazing.
So, like a wild wolf kind of howl?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
One second,
Now,
it's a little bit noisy here.
oh, it's okay. I mean, you yourself own a dingo along with three other dogs, so that must be pretty crazy, I can imagine. Have there been any major hurdles?
Oh yeah, like my house is absolutely chaos
I can
sometimes
imagine.
in that sense because one is my Australian Shepherd I took with me from Switzerland. The other one is the toy poodle my husband already had when we met, and then came Neo, and later on a rescue puppy named Bailey, a little Staffy. Well, not little, he's 34 kilos. And
He's a
it's
larger
truly,
stuffy.
yeah, and it's an American Staffy.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. So it's really funny. With having Neo in that pack, it's amazing because it's one thing to work with wild dingoes and then having an actual dingo hybrid at home, because behavior wise, a dingo hybrid still behaves very close to a pure dingo instead of a domesticated dog.
Right.
There you can actually see the main differences when you literally have them next to each other. Neo, as an example, he's way leaner compared to the others.
Mm-hmm.
He's way more flexible because dingoes, the widest part of the body is actually their head. So together with their still functional whiskers, they're able to just go into the ground, filling out grubs and just little critters like rodents on the beaches, crabs, fill them out. And it's pretty funny to watch in our yard. Neo is going after the grubs, pushing his snout into the ground
Oh, gosh.
and get the grubs out. Bailey, our Staffy, he tries to imitate him and just pushes his snout into the ground without knowing what he's actually doing. While it's wild, it's a really amazing thing parents teach their youngs to actually be able to survive when the parents are on a longer hunting trip, and the babies still can eat that way some grubs to fill their bellies.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, that's so fascinating.
Yes. And the other thing with Neo, he can be an escape artist. So it's really important to keep the yard gate closed, to keep the doors closed, and always have an eye when you want to leave the house.
Yeah.
Because when he slips through, in a good case, you get him back in 5 minutes, especially with his favorite high-value treats. In the worst case, you can play for an hour hide and seek with him until you get him.
Oh, gosh. Oh, that must be so frustrating.
It can be sometimes.
Now,
and another thing is, at the moment, he's really naughty because for dingoes, it's at the moment mating season. That's usually from March to June.
Mm-hmm.
And even being desexed, despite living in a domestic household, he still feels that hormonal change.
Right.
And he just shows those signs. Like, he is a little bit more up for a challenge. He can be more territorial. He's a little bit more antsy. Yeah. And my dogs don't know what's up. Like, why is he acting so weird?
They're like, Mum, what's wrong with him?
Exactly. It's like, what's up with him? They're like, don't worry. He's just looking for a lady.
Yeah, don't ask. You don't want to know. Now, I'm interested to know, do you need anything like a special license to own a dingo or have it registered with some dingo society or registry?
It highly depends on the state. So in Victoria and in the Northern Territory, you would need a license that will be issued from the government. It's very similar to when you want to keep snakes or something, like any exotic animal that is native. You need to apply for a license via just the government over the homepage. It's paperwork.
Yeah. And
also in Victoria, your property will be checked because you need either 3 meter high fences or 2 meter high and leaning inward at least a meter at a 45-degree angle to really make your yard escape proof. Mm-hmm. You will need an enclosure where you can get it in, so it needs to be child proof. It needs to be it needs to be safe that no one unauthorized can get actually access to the dingoes. And as well, they're escape artists, so you really need to make sure they can know how to dig out, they can jump. So we have a wild dingo up at the sanctuary. She is originally from the Northern Territory. She's a tropical dingo. She can clear easy a 2.5 meter fence straight up without any issues. Like, it's no hurdle for her, and she's a great example of why a yard needs to be really, really, really dingo proof in that sense.
Yeah.
Then also, if you have a dingo that is above about 80% DNA, so it needs to be DNA tested, you will need to apply for this license in Victoria.
Right.
And everything underneath you will register as a domestic pet, just normally as when you have a dog. It will be either dingo cross, Kelpie cross, like depending with what the dingo is crossed, it will be on the microchip.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because according to the Flora and Fauna Act of 1988, the dingo is a native wild animal, and this is why in certain states you need to actually register them as wildlife and as wildlife keeper, which would be Victoria and the Northern Territory in New South Wales and West Australia. There's no licensing needed, just normal microchipping, and there you go. You have your dingo. Which
Good luck to you.
yes, and then you have Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania, where it's not allowed to own dingoes because even they do count as wildlife by law in that sense, as a native wildlife. They are seen in a lot of places as a pest, and we know how Queensland, South Australia reacts to pests, not very friendly. And Tasmania has a great reason because dingoes, there is no dingo on their island. So,
Right.
of course, there is no dingo allowed as a pet, which makes completely sense.
Yeah.
Yes, and honestly, if you haven't worked with dingoes, if you're not like an attendant at a zoo, a volunteer or anything, and do have like regularly access and experience with dingoes, I definitely would not recommend to get a dingo or even a dingo hybrid because it will be chaos.
Yeah, by the sounds of it, definitely.
Oh yeah. It's like if you have a Mallee or a Husky cross, just tune it up to 11, and then you have kind of like a little bit the idea of how it is to have a dingo.
Oh, yeah. Well, they are a wild animal, so there's nothing you can do about that. Now, if you had to choose, which would it be, dingo or another dog?
Well, with 4 dogs at the moment, there's definitely none, but but yeah, down the road, it's a tough choice because I really have a knack for working breeds like Huskies or even other hybrid breeds like Jack Wolfhounds. But if I have to choose, it would be probably a pure dingo for me with all the licensing required because I'm just absolutely amazed by them. And with Neo, there is basically nothing that would me surprise anymore in that sense.
Well, you definitely are a woman who loves a challenge.
Always.
So, you not only work at the shelter, work at this dingo reserve, you have 4 dogs at home, but now you have another very exciting project about to launch. And we at Pistachio Llama have actually had the honor of seeing your products firsthand, and we are absolutely loving them.
Glad to hear.
And I'll let you announce the news to our listeners.
So yeah, I started to make my own resin tags and a little accessory line with my illustrations and graphics. The tags, it's called Nevermore tags, and my first release will be on the 8th of June. You can expect six limited edition shapes, which are only released once a year, and then there will be as well about 18 down the road. It will be 18 just regular shapes from mythical creatures to owls, like everything that is a bit spooky with a magical twist.
Yeah. It's super cool. Like I'm absolutely loving our dragon. It's nothing like you can't find this stuff anywhere else. It's completely different to what's out there.
That kind of was my goal because I'm a major sucker for anything horror themed, of anything witchy and mythical themed. So this is how I came up with. I was looking for. I actually imported shapes from the UK and from North America by really talented artists who make their resin molds. So I can actually pour them myself and offer them here for the people in Australia that are also looking for like a little bit extra sparkle and fling for their pets or even for themselves because I'm able to offer actual mini sizes for dogs and cats, like smaller breeds.
That's so cute.
Up to actual like large tags, either for let's say Great Dane Mastiff dogs, or even as a tag for your backpack, for your car, as a little luck token. So I really kind of try to cover every base for everyone.
Oh wow, love it. Absolutely love it and cannot wait for your business to launch. And what made you start your business and a business in the pet industry in particular?
For me, it was like I needed to have a different hobby that is just away from my work in that sense, because I have the animals here, I have the animals in the shelter. So I needed something to kind of like disconnect my brain, because my work can get at times extremely emotionally. Like it's very challenging to see injured animals, to see sick animals, to see scared animals. So I kind of needed something that emotionally gives me a barrier between it, and I can just completely clink out for a couple of hours and just paint and pour my resin. And with that as well, I'm not looking to make profit from it. What I'll be doing is each shape is basically designated to either Second Chance Animal Rescue or to the Dingo Foundation, and about half of the price of the tag will be donated to one of those organizations, while the rest of the price will cover shipping. So I offer nationally free shipping in future, and also a little bit of my material costs. And that's pretty much it. And the thing is, I met so many other amazing pet parents that have the same little knack to just buy things for the animals to show off. Like, look at my name tag. You can actually see my name, and you don't have to ask my mom, look at my name, and just things like that. And in general, I wanted to give back. I wanted to make people happy, and as well, I'm just for me having a good time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can imagine working at the shelter would be emotionally very exhausting, and you really are such an inspirational woman. And we thank you for coming on our show today and taking the time, as we said, out of your super busy schedule. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stella. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Now, I hope this interview has inspired you to do more with your time. Linda is working pretty much 2 jobs, and now she's starting out a business with 4 dogs on her hands. And she's doing it all, like she's managing it all. She doesn't seem frazzled or stressed at all. Like she's really got it together. So if you put your mind to it, you can pretty much achieve whatever it is and that you want. Also going to link all the organizations who Linda works for and her business as well down below. Make sure you check out all the links down below. I wish you all a wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you back here next week for episode 5. Mwah.